All right, we're back at it again. Got the fuel pressure issue figured out. If you watched my last video, you'll see what finally came to be with that, and it's all good to go. Now we got to get this no start when it's hot issue figured out, and this will be the first start of the day, so I'm expecting it to start right up and idle great and everything else. So here we go. Just like we thought. Starts up good, idle came down, running good. Now we're just gonna let it idle here and get warmed up. All right, that ought to do it. So now, without doing anything else to the car, I'm going to try to restart it, and we should see the issues where it doesn't want to start, or it'll start and have a really poor idle. All right, that's what I thought. So let's get to the front and do a couple things. All right, so with the key on and the connector plugged in, I'm checking voltage, and I just pinned it. It's coming up like 1.03, so I'm pretty close to probably 158 degrees if I can try to do this one-handed. I don't know if I'll be able to. Oh, there we go. So now, I mean, it's cooling down. I've been under here a while, so 0.99, which, you know, I'm somewhere around the 150 something degrees. And then if I pull these out, and I need to take the connector back off, there we go. If I switch to volt or to ohms, I'll do 200K, and again, I'm probably not going to be able to get these to touch with one hand, but I'll try. 4.9, so it's going to be again somewhere between the 158 and the 178. So that's where both of my readings were. So it looks like everything's on the sensor is working. And so now I'll move on to the next thing. All right, so I'm over on the passenger side kick panel. I've got the computer out. I have marked the two wires with some green painter's tape. So circuit 21 and circuit 57. You got a 14 gauge power, and then like an 18 gauge white with blue stripe. Those are the two that send a signal to the idle air control valve. So if you've watched some previous videos, you know that it looked like from the engine side of things, when the car was running, the IAC, if you check the voltage across the two circuits with the connector plugged in, it should be somewhere between 0.5 and 12 volts. And what I was getting the other day was 13.8 on that circuit, so above 12. So I'm trying to now check it at the computer and try to eliminate the wire harness as possibly the issue. So I'm gonna get the car running, try to pin these, and see what I get. All right, so I was able to get my leads. I just pushed in to the insulation on the two wires that I had taped and marked. So circuit 21 and circuit, I think it was 57. You could also use 37. The two powers get spliced together on off the computer. So 21 and 57, I was getting 3.48 volts here. So that would register as good, because it needs to be between 0.5 and 12. I went back to the IAC connector. I got two of these safety pins, and I pushed them in through the back of the connector, the kind of the rubber water seal back there. I just pushed through. I put a little bit of black electrical tape on these also, so you don't want them to touch each other, because one of those is a 12 volt source. So I was very careful to get those two pushed in and taped up to insulate them. And once I got those two pushed in with the connector still in the IAC, I turned the car on and I did the same measurement, and I did get the 3.4 to 3.8 volts. So the last time I did this, I had the connector unhooked from the IAC and was measuring across the two pins when the car was running. Apparently you have to have it plugged in to get an accurate reading. So I'm getting the same voltage at the IAC as I was at the computer, and it is within the range that it's supposed to be. So as a final verification, I did go ahead and try starting the car again with the IAC unhooked, and it would not start. But based on the fact that it will start with it plugged in, it will not start with it unplugged. And I'm getting the voltage at the computer and at the switch that I should. I'm gonna say the IAC is okay. And I just inadvertently unplugged this and stopped immediately from the surging. So I went ahead and got a new Pro M mass air, and we'll find out here in a minute if that has fixed the problem or not. Time to see how the restart goes. So it was not the math. All right, I'm going to try to measure between pins C and D, and should get 0.6 volts between the two, not between each of them and ground, but just between those two wires. The colors will be a little different on my car because it's a mass air conversion, but it's going to be the green and the yellow. So now I'm going to give it some gas after it starts to help keep it running. Now I'm going to go unplug the math and see what happens. All right. So it starts up when the math is unplugged, and then my air fuel is pegged out very lean. Inside the car, I've got my computer out. Got some wiring I'm going to start looking at, and you can see here, get my fat hand out of the way. This is the harness that comes from the MAF through the firewall, because this is a MAF conversion. It's an 87, so it was speed density before I bought it. Somebody converted it to mass air. So I've got four wires coming out of this harness. A couple of them should be spliced in to power and ground, and then a couple others should be just plugged into some open ports. So I'm going to verify all that. It looks good. It obviously is connected correctly because it's been working for years. But I'm going to just get familiar with everything and then start doing some resistance and some voltage tests. And then I've got this other harness coming up from under the carpet. It's got 3 wires on it. I think it goes over to the fuel pump relay, but I gotta check out what pins they're plugged into and just make sure I understand exactly what these are for, because it doesn't look factory to me because it's not in the main bundle. I've watched several mass air videos. I haven't necessarily seen anything talking about these additional 3 wires, but we'll look into it, write all the colors and the pin numbers down, and then initially I'm just going to start checking my voltage at the computer here. I'll bolt it back up now that I've got it out of the kick panel. It's just easier for me to remove the connector from the computer first to get it out of there, and then I'll just connect it back up. I'm back. I've got my printout here of all the circuits for an 88 to 91. So again, mine's an 87, but it's been mass air converted, so I'm using the 88 to 91 diagram to follow the circuits for the MAF. And so I looked at all my pins that have been added in or moved around, and then I just drew out a very rough sketch of the same diagram as what's on here, and I've only highlighted the wires that are being ran in that were not part of the factory. So I know there's a couple circuits that get moved around. I'm sure that is not an issue. So again, this was converted a long time ago, way before this recent issue's been going on. But it does show that on the fuel relay harness, which is what I'm calling it for now, what I think it is it's circuit 19, 3, and 6 are what's been added in from this other harness that's coming up under the carpet and goes over by the fuel pump relay. And then the MAF circuits for them in another harness are 9, 37, 50, and 60, and I referenced those to here, and that's exactly where they're supposed to be. All right, first I'm going to check the yellow circuit. So from the MAF connector, I've got plugged into the pin, and then on inside at the computer, it'll be pin 50 at the computer, and it's pin D as in dog on the MAF connector. So 50 is right here, and it's supposed to be less than 2 ohms, and this says it's 0.7. So that circuit is good. Next, we're going to check the green circuit. Okay, green circuit is circuit C, Charlie at the connector. And then on the computer, or We're looking for pin 9. So circuit 9 is right here. And we're at 0.6. So resistance is fine on those two circuits. Okay, we just checked resistance on the MAF wiring. So pin D to pin 50 was good, and then pin C to pin 9 is good. All right, so at the computer, I'm pushed into circuits 50 and 9, and I'm getting about 0.9. And when I did this a couple days ago up at the MAF sensor on the connector end, I was getting the same 0.9, 0.92. So that would tell me I don't have an issue with the wiring as much as something in the computer. Because to be at 0.9, that would be closer to what it's supposed to be when you're running like 12 or 15 miles an hour. Not when you're at idle. I'm supposed to be at 0.6. Let me know if you guys can think of anything else that could be causing that, or if it's got to be the computer. Thanks.